Welcome to another episode of the Gabby podcast. My name is Brian Chung, and I'm the Director of Programs and Strategy at the Global America Business Institute. Today, we will be discussing nuclear perspectives from Korea with our guest, Bum Jin Chung, who is a professor of the Nuclear Engineering Department at Kyunghee University in Korea. He also serves as the president of the Korean Nuclear Society. He received his PhD in 1994 from Seoul National University in Korea on the topic of AP 600 containment cooling capability assessment. Previously, he has worked for the Korean Ministry of Science and Technology and studied at the University of Manchester in the UK. He has also been a professor of the Nuclear and Energy Engineering Department in Jeju National University in Korea, and he had led the Nuclear R&D division in the National Research Foundation of Korea. Professor Chung, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Korea is emerging as a major player in the global nuclear arena. But before we discuss global implications, I'd like to focus on Korea's domestic nuclear activities. Can you highlight some of the current nuclear priorities and activities in Korea? I was hoping you can also offer your insight on Korea's current strategic trajectory. Is Korea on the pathway for success in nuclear, and do you feel that there are some course corrections that can improve Korea's chance of success?
Mm. Right. Uh, Domestically, we are operating 25 nuclear power plants, and currently we are constructing six nuclear power plants. Actually, we are expecting three or four new nuclear power plant construction in the 11th National Electricity Demand and Supply Plan. Actually, we expected more construction, but the current planning committee seems not considering the net zero policy seriously.
I see.
And internationally, we are trying to export Korean nuclear power plant to Czech, Poland, UAE, etc. I think we have the capability of providing the cheapest nuclear power plant in the Western world, which actually was revealed in the bidding process of the UAE in 2009. And we are also developing an ISMR that is called Innovative SMR based on light water reactor technology and expecting the standard design approval at around 2028. We are in the decommissioning process of two old nuclear power plants, Korea number one and Wolsong number one. And as to the course correction, but actually it is not a course correction, but kind of improvements are needed. And first one is we need a more efficient nuclear regulatory system
Mhm.
because we established regulatory body in 2011, which
Mhm.
just after the Fukushima accident. So the regulatory system is relatively new and it is not settled down completely. So we need some more efficient regulatory system. Secondly, we have to sort out the spent fuel issues. In Korea, spent fuel issue is a big issue. So we are trying our best to get a spent fuel site. And currently, we are trying to pass the spent fuel bill in the Congress. That is the work we are doing now. And thirdly, we are tackling the anti-nuclear sentiment, which dominated the last 5 years in the previous government. So there are still bodies, so we have to tackle them. The fourthly, our nuclear R&D system should be more practical in terms of getting a solution, bearing fruits. So we need them to be more solid, productive. So I think that is kind of improvement we need now.
I understand. Well, despite the strong export capabilities that Korea has demonstrated, there was a recent political turbulence around nuclear, with the previous administration attempting to phase out nuclear energy in Korea. Fortunately, the current administration supports nuclear very strongly, but I was wondering if you can talk about some of the hardships that the Korean Nuclear Society might have experienced during the previous administration. How much of a setback was the previous administration's phase out policy, and how is the Korean nuclear industry recovering?
As you mentioned, previous President Moon declared anti-nuclear policy,
Mhm.
Of course, he corrected it to energy transition, but it was the same. He unfolded a series of measures to put an end to a nuclear society in Korea. The first thing is he canceled new nuclear power plant construction.
Mhm.
Second, he prohibited lifetime extension of nuclear power plants. And actually, he led early closure of Wolfsong number one Candu reactor. Uh, and he allowed government nuclear research areas were only four sectors like safety, radioactive waste, and radiation and decommissioning. So other kind of research activities we cannot do majorly. So we could do minor part, but as a national R&D program, only those four areas are permitted. So it was a dark age. So but actually we overcame the challenge. For the last 5 years, President Moon's ruling period, we criticized his policy using media. Almost every day, issues were raised and criticized uh, for former government. And some wrote newspaper articles, and others helped journalists to write articles. We stood against the president along with the opposition party. We held congressional workshops, open lectures, etc., and we uh, continuously raised issues. And some professors, including me, showed up at the TV and radio debating programs. So we struggled to keep the nuclear industry in Korea. And one interesting thing is at the early ruling period of 2017. President Moon tried to cancel the construction of four nuclear power plants, Shingori 5 and 6 and Shinhanul 3 and 4. At that time, Shingori 5 and 6 were about 30% done, and Shinhanul 3 and 4 was about 10% done. And we protested against the ruling through the media together with opposition party, and it was quite severe. And at the end of the day, the government suggested an open public debate.
Mhm.
So the government formed the public deliberation committee, and it made a poll for the resumed construction of Shingori 5 and 6. And it reached to about 20,000 people and get the poll. And based upon the poll, they composed 500 extra people gathered in some place and studied the matter. So experts supporting either the construction and cancellation of nuclear power plant had the chances to persuade those 500 people through lectures, Q&As, and reports, and it lasts almost 3 months. So from time to time, up to 3 months. And at the end of the day, we won 6-4. So the construction of Shingori 5 and 6 was resumed. Together with the construction works performed in the UAE, we could maintain manpower related to nuclear power plant construction. And we could maintain the supply chain not to collapse completely. So we could save, but we could not save Shingori 3 and 4.
Mhm.
The construction was resumed only last year. So we had also one more public deliberation committee regarding the expansion of spent fuel dry storage facility of Warsaw nuclear power plant site, and we won 8-2. So then the government never offered any more public debate deliberation committee. So I think we had some kind of setback, but it didn't collapse completely the supply chain and construction industry. As we protested against the government, we could save many of the manpower and many of the supply chain.
And given Korea's strong presence in the global market, that kind of transitions into my next question, which is at the end of the last year, the world witnessed COP28 pledges being made to triple global nuclear capacity by 2050. And Korea was one of the nations that supported this pledge. Where do you see the role of Korea in the global nuclear market by 2050? And where do you draw the line in terms of cooperation with allies versus competition in the global market?
Yep. Luckily, I was a part of COP28. I visited Dubai and made public speech at the time. And I would like to mention we exported four APR 1400 nuclear power plant to the UAE, and they were constructed on time within budget. I think that
Mhm.
is very important. And during the bidding process, we found APR 1400 was the cheapest one. It means that we have the capability of providing the cheapest and reliable nuclear power plant on time. I think that is a very important thing. And in the UNFCCC conference held in 2018, they suggested four energy scenarios. Uh, as to the nuclear power, the scenarios were the first one need 150% increase. The second one, 98%. That is maintaining the current situation. And third one is 501%, 501%. And fourth one is 468. That means except the one maintaining the current situation, the other three scenarios argues we need to increase the nuclear portion. And also in the COP28, we agreed that nuclear power should be tripled worldwide. So the net zero policy by 2050 means huge nuclear power demand worldwide. And it is more than the full capacity of all the nuclear power plant suppliers. So currently, the suppliers are more or less competing each other. But
Right.
soon, I think they will realize they need to cooperate to meet the future demand.
I see. Thank you so much for your insights and perspectives. I'd like to give you a moment to provide any concluding thoughts or to speak about any issues that we did not get to cover, but you feel is important to highlight.
Yes, net zero policy, I think, is a chance to expand nuclear energy worldwide. We can minimize the negative economic impact by using nuclear energy, which is by far cheaper than renewables. But there are hurdles laid by anti-nuclear NGOs, environmentalists, and renewable sellers, and some politicians affected by them. We have a capability to meet the need of net zero, but before that, we have to get over those kind of hurdles. Uh, During the fight against the anti-nuclear sentiment, I realized there are ties among the environmentalists and anti-nuclear NGOs and renewable sellers worldwide, but there is not a single tie among pro-nuclear sector. So I think we also need to work together to tackle the fake news and to share the skills to stand against the anti-nuclear bodies and to generate logics to persuade the public. I think we should not be too snobbish. We should not spend all of our energy in the competition within nuclear society. We should go out and sort out the current issue properly.
I understand. Professor Chung, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking your time to speak with me and share your valuable expertise. And to our audience listening in, thank you so much for your continued support for Gabby, and please stay tuned for our next Gabby podcast.
Okay, thank you very much.